Test. Good afternoon. Thank you for all being here on short notice. Gabe and I have been fielding questions via email, via telephone, in the clubhouse, around the golf course, and we've had enough conversation with membership. Maybe the best thing to do would be to host a town hall meeting, get everybody in the room, make it available via Zoom. We're videotaping this session so we can communicate to those who are not able to attend. And just open up the discussion on the golf course, quality of the golf course, conditions that we currently have here at Twin Eagles, and then talk about maybe what some of the long range planning and projects are we move forward. But if everybody go back to January of 2024, I arrived here on the 31st, right? We had just completed 1 week of focus group sessions. We did an annual survey, all of the members, golfing members. Golf course is high priority, low satisfaction. And so we've been working the better part of a year to put together a plan to improve that. The members have told us we're largely golf centric and the conditions of the golf course are not meeting our expectations. We got granular in the member survey. We understand your thoughts, wants, and desires, we think. I engaged a consulting group who is nationally known, does consulting work around actually the world, and they did a report on a site visit in the spring of 2024. Keep in mind it's just a snapshot. I think it's actually accurate to what I've experienced, what Darren at the time was telling me, and what Gabe has experienced. So we want to get in the room today and talk about who we are, where we think we are, because we're not there yet. We've got a long way to go. I think everybody in the room hopefully agrees it's getting better, right? And we'll talk about that. Is that temporary? You know, what can we expect in the next 6 months, 12 months, couple of years? And then talk about where we're going long term. The members over the last year have said we want to invest in improving the golf courses first. We know we have equipment needs, we know we have golf course maintenance facility needs. We're addressing those in our capital spend in the near term. And then Gabe has put together a team of professionals who are committed to making the golf experience better. And we're working on our capital spending with our strategic planning group, finance committee, board of directors, and the Greens. And so I'd like to recognize Rich McCusker and Jim Mower, if they're in the room, our co-chairs of that committee who have been engaged in a lot of the strategic conversations. And there's others in the room from that committee, and we greatly appreciate your input, advice, counsel, etc., as we look to improve the golf experience here at Twin Lakes. Having said that, everybody knows Gabe. Everybody knows Ruby for sure, right? They may not know Gabe, but we know Ruby. We're very fortunate to have Gabe and his experience here. He comes from a long background history with some high performing clubs, so he knows what we aspire to be in the near term and long term. We're getting there. It's not going to happen overnight, but I think progressively we will improve and hit all the marks for the membership. Gabe, it's all yours.
All right, thank you. And thank you all for coming. We'll go through some quick slides, and then at the end, we'll have a nice Q&A session, but we can just hold some of the comments to the end, the questions till the end, and maybe answer some of the go through some of these slides. But today we're going to talk about the town course conditions, Eagle course conditions, operational and capital challenges, cultural practices, short-term and long-term improvement plans. So first up, the town course, the greens. We've had a lot of compliments on the greens compared to, I guess, years past. One thing to understand is it's hard to compare us to last year. Last year was an El Nino year, and I'm sure many of you got information about the weather conditions that were last winter. This past winter was a fairly mild winter. The conditions, I think, like that. So it's all comparison from years past of what we have going on right now. There is some contamination on the greens. Before we get into that, actually, the town will talk about the greens, the fairway surfaces, bunkers, and native areas. We do these cultural practices on these Tuesdays. We're currently doing it right now. The picture on the left there, that is our verticutting. It is very important to verticut when the weather is right. Verticutting is a vertical blade unit, which cuts those stolons and creates a denser putting and smoother putting surface. We have to be cautious though at times. You can't do it when the weather is cold. You have excessive cloud cover, so we have to be cautious when the right time to verticut is. Following up with the top dressing, which is light and frequent. Because we have two golf courses here, we have every other closure, both the town and Eagle back and forth alternating weeks. And there are times where we do have to do some minor venting, I guess you could say. This is the time which we did the Eagle last week. We'll talk with the Eagle. But this helps move some of that excess water, that soil profile. It's important to get that moisture off the surface. If you hold your water in the first couple inches, you promote disease, you promote problems, you wall marks, those kinds of things. So it's important to create those channels so water and nutrients can go all the way through. The reason why we do some light venting, and really what we're doing is buying ourselves until we get into the summer and do a more efficient process. We'll use a larger time. This image is not of the town. I know this can be kind of hard to see. We actually grabbed this from the Eagle. There is some contamination on the town from collar, like what you see on the left, creeping in and growing into the green. Again, this image is from the Eagle course. We just knew it. We took if you're from the town, it wouldn't show up on the screen. So it's just a representation. You will see, we have been edging a lot more frequently to help keep those two grasses separate. But there has been some breakthrough over the years. You'll see in April, middle of April, before we start our summer creation to these greens, we will have to dab some Roundup in some of these areas on the greens. And that's so we don't continue that spring of that tip eagle collar, tip grand collar into the tip eagle green. So it's just a normal summer practice, but expect round dots throughout the green and what and apply. And we'll communicate that get closer to that. Fairways on the town have improved. We do get excessive use. A lot of you have done a lot better. It's out and following some of the traffic signs we hate, but the traffic, it's inevitable to try to avoid and disperse some of that throughout the golf course. We have gone through a very tedious process on what we're actually applying. We're on a bi-weekly spray on these fairways to give it just a spoon feed of nutrients when we need it. Once the weather broke, we saw the benefits of that. But a lot of the products that we're using on here, a big product is actually molasses sugar. We're trying to help build some of that microbial activity that's in there. So when the summer, when it does break and they get warmer weather, they're going to want to feed on some of those materials that we're putting out. So what we're putting out, you may not see the benefits right away. But long term, as we build that soil up, build that microbial population up, you're going to see us get better and better. And when we get in colder seasons, it will kind of, we will have time to move out some yellow turf. But year after year, you'll see the continued improvement as we go through some of these summer cultural practices. As we continue to give the grass, feed the grass what it needs, it'll get better and better. We are aware of the bunkers out there on the town, the challenge that we have. Our team continues to spot treat and work those areas and check the depths. This is have to look more in depth at the end of summer once we get through the rainy season. What I can say is that if you do happen to see a liner that our team missed, please email me, let me know, we can address it. If you have sent us comments about it, and we've gone right away and tried to fix it as we can.
Quick question, straw poll. Talon bunkers have been a conversation for the entire 12 months I've been here. By show of hands, bunkers this season seem better than the Talon bunkers last season. Talking about Talon only, or is it about the same? Okay, so we're trying to do better, right? The way we're raking the bunkers, the way we're training the team. So that'll be more of a conversation here toward the end of the presentation, but that's good to know.
We can't forget about the natural areas. We have a lot of areas throughout here that still have to get maintained. We've incorporated some pre-emergence in those sprays. So everyone knows Roundup. When we add that pre-emergent to their disperse as a barrier, so when weeds do fall on there and they try to germinate, those pre-emergents will prevent it from showing up. So it's taking some time to build that up. We have gotten better and we'll continue to get better as we go through the year. But it is an area that we maintain that kind of gets forgotten as far as but Eagle course, we'll discuss about the greens, their turf contamination, fairway services, farm contamination, the irrigation, and drainage. So again, it's the same image. This is actually of the Eagle celebration. Bermuda grass of the collar and approaches have extremely encroached into the green. We have champion greens here on the Talon. What we're going to look at doing this summer, because this is by far overgrown into the green. If you wanted to fix that, that would require ripping up the entire thing and then resodding or resprigging and creating that line back to the original form. We're gonna go inside and I don't want to say shrink the green, but we're gonna analyze certain areas where we can just let that celebration continue to grow and then hold that new line. If not, you're gonna continue having services around these areas. And not to mention, every time we aerify or verticut, all we're doing is taking that contaminated grass and putting it further and further inside the middle of the greens. A lot of these greens are contaminated, mutated. There is some past palm on some of them. That they're due for some type of renovation or research. The other contamination area that we have on the image on the right here is some of the on the Eagle. Again, this is a Bermuda golf course. Originally, you were past palm. And over time, that past palm has made its way through into that Bermuda grass. It is a challenge managing both different types of grass. What you see here in the fairways is on number 3 of the Eagle, where it's kind of browned out a little bit. That's because the herbicide application targeted to be safe for Bermuda, but is not safe for past palm. So there's certain chemistry that we can use on past palm and not Bermuda, vice versa. So it makes it kind of hard. You have a hodgepodge of different grasses. How do you manage that, especially on a weed control level? The bunkers on the Eagle have some drainage issues. There are some contamination issues. This summer, we plan on trying to find the bottom of some of these drains and seeing what we can flush out. Truth is that sand itself, we believe, is compromised. A lot of the drainage throughout the bunker. You will have drain lines all throughout the entire bunker. And if those fines get in tiny piping, it's clogged up. So get heavy amounts of rain, areas that dry. Those that are here in the summertime see this all the time on the Eagle course. So it is an issue. Irrigation, we've discussed a lot about the irrigation challenges over there on the Eagle. Brian and Chris have done an amazing job of getting us back up to somewhat speed as far as communication issue goes. Routine maintenance goes. Now the issue is on the individual head. So I think we're up to 82 heads that have been replaced in the Eagle course. Put that in perspective, the typical satellite box can hold 64. So that's like missing an entire pole of irrigation. So here it is on that golf course. We continue to find more and more stuff as we go through, but there were a lot of irrigation heads that aren't working. So, drainage is the other issue. I can tell you I've been in this a long time, and when I started in August to October, I think it's the most I've ever had to see a golf course shut for play my entire career combined. A lot of that is because you can't access certain number 9, there's no park. How do you make it from tee to green? So it's a challenge for us, even operating equipment. You know, if you can't drive the course to play, we can't have a hard time even mowing. So we are going to address some areas into the summer. We just kind of have to be cautious of how much we want to invest in that drainage if we do decide to do a project. What I can tell you is we will concentrate on high playable areas, areas that we know they're not connected, like this one right here on 12, the Eagle. This drain is not connected, so we're going to connect from basin to basin. Hopefully, we don't have that wet spot and stay there also. So some operational capital challenges. The equipment is old.
So I think we messaged over the last year that a lot of the equipment, significant percentage of the equipment was fully depreciated when I arrived. The other issue is there were 35 plus pieces of equipment sitting outside in the elements. So Carl had signed a purchase order for $1.9 million of equipment to replace desperately needed equipment. The challenge is the lead time on those orders. We still have not received the workhorse units. For example, our fairway mowers, there's a lot of units that we need every day, so we've got equipment out on the golf course that's 15, 20, 25 years old. The motors are leaking, the hoses are leaking, we get hydraulic leaks every week, and you see, and if we get emails and calls from members, how can they not see that? You know, when we're out 5 o'clock in the morning, Gage Crew's out at 5 o'clock in the morning. As good as those lights are, you just don't see everything, especially in the Florida mornings. There's a lot of dew on the grass. The dew on the grass leans, glimmers, just like hydraulic fluid. So we don't always catch it. Sometimes when we do, we don't catch it soon enough. So that's how that happens. But at the end of the day, nobody's using the age of the equipment using. So we are gradually replacing equipment. The workhorse vehicles of the first tranche of golf course maintenance equipment is scheduled to arrive in April now. I just got an update this past week. It was supposed to be here by the end of December, so it's continually gotten pushed back. And we have signed a proposal actually in the spring of 2024, $2.9 million, which is going to get us a lot closer to being able to deliver a better experience for both golf courses. So the good news is the capital that we have deployed is 65% going to the golf experience. It's equipment, lease, and obligatory replacement, some new capital. We'll talk about some of the summer projects that are on the schedule that we messaged earlier in the year, where we made the decision to pull some talent capital bunkers and move it over to Eagle to do some high priority projects to extend the life of the Eagle before we go and do a major renovation. That's a topic of discussion later in the presentation, but we also have to house the receiving. Right? So we're trying to make space. We've done a great job. Dave's done a great job of throwing just tons and tons of stuff out. Right? Old equipment. There's pieces of equipment that are 30 years old. There's equipment that's older than when Bonita Bay took Twin Eagles and was maintaining. They had to move some equipment from other properties to Twin Eagles for the maintenance here. So there's that's all getting replaced. We're excited about that, but we're gonna have to figure out ways to house it. And we're currently working on needs analysis and trying to phase a golf course maintenance facility together so we can fit it into our capital. So land mass.
Right, we'll get to the land mass. We understand the Eagle irrigation drainage we've touched on. Also needs some drainage as well. We still have work to do on 18T. Great. A couple other issues like 16 long cart paths. Some good issues that we want to be able to address and take care of that. Any works. Agronomic and cultural practices. We'll talk just briefly about some greens aeration in our current layering, affecting some soils for production and some of our team training that we've been doing. So this is my concern. This is a concern that you don't see. This is a cutter plug on the left here, and this is kind of a slice, triangle slice that I did on the green. These were both on the town golf course, and I'm sorry, the one on the left is from the Eagle, the one on the right is from the town. But we're having these layering issues. You see, kind of it's like a layered cake. right? That goes all the way through the profile. That makes it a challenge to drain some of that water and get some of the nutrients away. You really want that entire soil profile to be uniform, so it acts the same throughout the putting surface. With this right here, this is a challenge. You can get sealed off with too much rainfall, too much irrigation. You do not drain this properly. Should you need that water to help release and get it to the gravel layer as quickly as possible. This is why this summer we have to go, we have to aerate, we have to create these channels to break through. Some of it's going to be contracted out. The deep core aeration in the summer, going down about 8 inches, that definitely break through layers that are getting on the course. And also the Eagle course, which is a lot more organic matter and it tends to want to hold more moisture. So this is a concern of mine, that you will see the results of it on the putting surface here. We are bringing Big Daddy. Big Daddy's a giant slicing aeration machine. This is a rock buster. This is going to go on the Eagle Golf course during that closure. To my knowledge, you have never core aerated the fairways and roughs with a mechanical set on those fairways. Here, how much rock actually on. Bringing a Toro unit, which is 1298, which is a giant machine aerifier that just drives straight down to work. It was feared that you would break arms and break tines. So this machine out there to see how much rock we actually have. And I do suspect there's a lot of rock out there. Seeing old images of the areas, of course, when it was a lot of waste areas that were designed in there, was then planted there, came the Eagle course. Some of that created like a compact issue. And that contributes to some of your drainage issues that you have throughout the actual golf course, not necessarily around bases and things. You need to create good aeration again to get some of that water all the way through. If you have rocks underneath it, it's like holding a bowl. I think that turf surface, that water can't go in. So we hope this machine can help break it up. Another thing is break up some of that rock. This will give us a good indication how much rock is actually out. And we'll also find any irrigation as we can. So acreage is a huge factor for us. 224 acres of turf. This isn't total area. It's not lakes. It's not natural. This is irrigated turf that we maintain. This is a problem. Well, I don't say a problem. Of course, it is a challenge on a serious standpoint. The Talon fairways alone are 50 acres. If we are spraying bi-weekly, compare that to a course that has 20 acres, 30 acres. That ends up really quick. You're talking about any kind of fertility you're putting out there. To put it in perspective, I came from Fiddlesticks. We had a total of 8 acres with both golf courses. You could fit all of Fiddlesticks inside. So acreage is a challenge and something we are going to do this summer on both courses is do a little bit of turf production as far as what is a fairway, what is a tee, what is an approach to help kind of reduce some of those impacts of equipment. We don't want to totally redesign and change the way they look. We really don't. There's certain areas behind bunkers that we feel like we can eliminate some of that fairway height or cut and add rough. We can make a savings impact there. There are some areas that are in between trees. We've already done some turf production behind number 12. Each one of those trees used to have its own little. We went ahead and connected and made it one big bed. And that saves us time as far as going crop. So those are some of the types of some of the videos.
So this was a slide at the member town hall meeting back in September, where I believe Mike Chafee presented this slide. We started comparing golf course maintenance and other 36 holes. It was pretty easy to figure out, sort of maintained acres, right? So Gabe talked about the turf grass, but we have almost 100 acres more than the average 36 homes. Right, so it's a big deal. $1,200 more per maintained acre adds up pretty quick, so. We're looking at all options. As Gabe talked about, to reduce turn and how we can best maintain the perimeter, right? Because most members don't think, well, it's perimeter area, it doesn't cost anything. We spray pre-emergent herbicides, right? We have to put pine straw out. We spend $240,000 a year on pine straw. If you don't put the pine straw out, right, and create that barrier, if the sun can get to the ground, the weeds are gonna germinate and pop through, and you get the weeds that we had early last spring and early summer to contend with. So we think we're starting to get ahead of the weed control and the weed population. But it's not inexpensive to do so. So we're looking at all those options to reduce costs.
And I like to just add, you can't do a cost per hole. You have to do cost per acre. That's how I build the budget, is the cost per acre. A good example is we put out a product called Chipco Choice, which is every golf course down here pretty much puts that product out there June time. That's contracted out. They give me an estimate by the hole. They give me an estimate by the acre, because they know if they do a cost per hole, they could lose a lot of money here this golf. They might make money. With the acres that we have here, they would definitely lose money if they did do cost per assessment budget.
Good.
We have done a lot of training on golf course maintenance. Maria, administrative assistant, is a phenomenal job taking every piece of equipment. We have a flow chart that the employees go through. They get trained with the supervisor, they get shadowed on. We do have a lot of new employees down here, so there is we still need some time to help develop them. A lot of them came with little experience in golf course maintenance. We are happy to say that the training program is completed. It's just a matter of getting everyone trained in protecting the equipment, especially the new ones that come in. So we gave a deadline of May 1st. So by May 1st, every one of our staff who's able to operate it will be trained and signed up.
All right, the fun stuff. Short-term and long-term improvement plan. So there's been a lot of discussion on the Eagle Golf Course. You know, what do we do? How fast we do it? I think the majority of the members are in the camp of, let's do it within the current staff. Okay? So we know from the $30 million that we spent house in town renovation, 50% the membership initiation portion of that debt repayment will be expired or satisfied by the end of this fiscal year, no later than the end of the calendar. We believe we're on pace for that. We have another closing or two in the month of March. And I think finance committee, we were down to 14 units remaining to sell for the balance of the year. So we're on pace to do that. And there's nothing in our forecast that suggests otherwise. So we can take that current and start allocating that to other items, projects, right? So it's not going to require these things we talk about are not going to require assessment, right? We're looking to make things better with. We're just going to make sure we're calculated wise and we phase the approach. In the strategic plan, we said we were going to extend the life Eagle. What does that mean? Right? So we were all set to move forward on a full town bunker replacement or renovation, because we know we had the issue with the bunker construction. That's well documented in videos and communications earlier in. We said, hey, wait, we have a new superintendent who may have a better way of maintaining them. Let's see if we can maintain them better with current resources and deploy that capital spend over the Eagle, which might be a greater need. So we talked to the Greens and Grounds Committee, we talked to Finance Committee. I think SPC was involved in the discussion of the board, and everybody agreed, yeah, that's a better way forward. So we made the decision to deploy the $495,000 ish from the town bunker, a redo over the Eagle course. So all the projects Gabe's got his eye on, the drainage, the irrigation, cart paths, there's a variety of projects which we'll be communicating out later this spring on the timing of all those, but the budget is gonna be for that, but it's all contained within that allocation in the capital budget. We've also had longer range. We've had the discussion with the Greens and Grounds. You know, what does an Eagle course renovation mean? Does it mean to you that we maintain the Eagle design integrity and we just make it better? We redo irrigation, we redo drainage, we move some bunkers around, we raise some of the low areas to get it to drain better, put golf cart paths, make it so you can actually get from hole to hole easier and not leave deep ruts in some. Is that what you mean by Eagle improvement or renovation? Or does it mean we're changing the design integrity, we're blowing it up, we're moving dirt, we're bringing in fill dirt, and we're redoing the whole Eagle with a different design group? And from early indications, talking to the Greens and Grounds, we don't what the membership. We think the members want to make it as good as we can, the current design as good as it can be. So that's an ongoing discussion, and we're getting ready to announce via the strategic planning committee that we're going to have some focus group meetings on that particular topic, starting late March, early April. So we're going to start the process better understanding what the members really want to do before we scope out any project and move in any given direction. So we're taking our time, we're trying to understand what the members really want, and we're not going to go spend a bunch of money, right? We're just not. We've got plenty to do with what we have. You know, Gabe would like to blow the Eagle up now and get on with it. But as he said, he understands, right? We have a fiduciary responsibility. We have a budget, we have a cash flow. We need to work within that framework. So right now we're making decisions. Okay, what do we spend? The resources we spend now, we want to make sure will apply and we can not have to redo when we go to a bigger renovation. So we're trying to spend very, very wisely and very, very strategically, pending the decision of what. On the maintenance facility, and I think going back to the SPC, I believe that email is going out sometime this week or next week announcing those meetings and meeting time, so be on the lookout. But the SPC's been great. I know there's members from that committee in the room, really trying to engage and work with the membership committee, the finance committee, on mapping all of the future capital spending, strategically. Maintenance facility, we have engaged, a couple, not engaged, we have spoken to some general contractors about some what-if scenarios. We've had a civil engineer out to look at the site development plan and the dedications of what property we have accessible and could build on or expand to. So we have a better understanding of the land back at the maintenance facility and the surrounding parcels. So we know exactly what we can and can't do. There's some conservation areas back there which we can't touch, but there's also some areas we can. So we've got not a blank canvas, but we've got some room to work. Cart path. Clearly, during the Talon renovation and over the years, not all the cart paths got repaired. Talon 18 just got a temporary fix. It's going to be permanently fixed this summer. Gabe has a list of all those areas. We'll be working with the Greens and Grounds to address the drainage and irrigation. Gabe spoke to incredibly difficult on the Eagle Golf Course. So if your soil profile is really shallow and on top of rock, you could get 20 inches of rain in a rain event, right? It all percolates through that 12 inches of soil, hits the rock, and then drains off. Right? It doesn't through. So it dries out fast. So it might dry out a hot, windy day in the summer, and we're throwing water 48 hours after a big rain event. Members are going, "Why are you irrigating? We just had 5-10 inches of rain." It's because of the rocky soil. So and we don't know exactly what's underneath. That's why we need the Big Daddy to break up that rock and get that water penetration through the soil profile. Eagle tee leveling. We were out on the golf course yesterday, driving around, and we talked to a member about, we were on Eagle number 6. Member said, "Hey, there's a tee, but it's really, really small. We need to expand some of those tees, and we definitely need to level, because a lot of them are crowned, they're not level, they need to be laser leveled. It's not a big cost item, but it needs to be done. And it probably needs to be done during the renovation time when we do the big renovation, whatever that looks like." Did I miss anything?
Yeah, just on the tees, for some of the fronts and stuff, we'll try to smooth out the summertime, it's just require aeration through there, creating again those aerification with clean sand going through, and then we were bringing a big roller to help level that off, but there is a lot of organic matter on top of those tees, that we hope to address many of them this 2025.
So we have almost $1.5 million approved out of the $2.3 million cap for 2025 fiscal year, going to the golf course and practice area improvements. So when we said, "We heard you, we're focused on improving the golf experience," we are. We've got the team to lead us forward in a high performing way. We're still getting resources operationally. We couldn't get all Gabe's needs met, but we added 5 more bodies in the 25 budget last year. We need to add 5 more. but at least now we can deploy our walk mowers, which is far superior to the triplex we have been putting out previously because of manpower. It'll take a lot of pressure off the cuts and all those rings around the greens will start, bare areas will start going away over time. And we're able to cover a lot more ground. So, we're getting there operationally. We've got the capital. We're not coming to the numbers for an assessment to do any of these projects. We're working with the capital constraints, and we're going to continue to plan forward here. Right? Members are going to tell us in the annual survey every year. We're going to reevaluate what the members tell us, how we're doing operationally, and where we need to be spending our capital dollars. We'll get together in the finance committee. John and Barry will beat us up, just like we do every year. And then we'll talk with the strategic planning committee. What are the members telling you where we should spend future capital dollars, aspirational items? And we'll get all the committees involved in the discussion and we'll move forward. But we're not going to force anything. We're going to do these focus groups and listen and have a discussion as we plan forward.
Guess at this time, we'll take any questions.
Good. Mr. Opinski.
First of all, my one comment, I don't have. You don't like the direction. I wish you would more shield fence, for you, shield fence, direct us around areas. If we have to guide it a little bit around, to get around some attention, give it attention. Turn us off and deviate us around.
Thank you, appreciate that.
If,
I'm sorry, wait 1 second. I'll pass the mic around if we have a question.
I just one for Gabe, one for Bob. So Gabe, question for you. In an ideal world, how much time would you need in getting an architect on board, construction crews and everything? You said you need to be done by this date. How much time is it going to take to do a big redo of Eagle?
If you want it done right,
Right. Yep.
get the right contractors, the right grass, you're probably looking at 3 to 4 years out. Because you have to sit there, you have to put a reserve on your turf grass at those nursery farms. Right, your deposit down there, you have to reserve the irrigation contractors. Liable irrigation, you're 3 years out. So you have to put those deposits down soon. You want to start in 3 to 4.
And Bob, question for you. Love the idea of focus groups. I felt the last time we went through focus groups, we didn't have any cost. No discussion about how much it would cost per member to do something. And my question really is, can you give us some sense at these meetings what you call a blow up or calls a major renovation, just so we have a sense of what it is to think about how much it is per member. So when we're answering the questions in the survey, we have a sense of, oh, we're answering it because it's this much. We're answering it because it's this much. So I felt like, the last time sort of finding and answering this question.
Yes, and we heard that loud and clear. He gave us no reference points. It was like a Christmas list, right? And of course, we want it all. Right? But at the end of the day, there's a cost, an operating cost to all of it. So strategic planning committee has talked at length for multiple meetings. We don't want to do that. And so the focus group meetings, the end of this month, the beginning of April, and probably into the fall, are going to be to scope. And we'll give some high level costs. I know 2 years ago, Taos Park did 18-hole renovation, a lot of acreage. probably similar to Talent, $15 million. They kept the design intact. Right? Bonita Bay, 18 to $20 million, and they just approved a project to redo the redo. Right? So Big Daddy's gonna tell us what's going on underground. And do we need to bring in fill? I mean, anybody been to Bonita Bay East? Right? How much fill dirt did they bring in? 2 to 3 feet in some areas, right? All this area, so it's, the land is all the same, it's in a swamp. Right, the north end of our property is equivalent to that property. Right, so we're gonna try and do it responsibly and cost effectively, and we're not gonna cut any corners. We're just not. It's not what he does, it's not what I do. Whatever we do is gonna get done right, or we don't do it. Right, because I don't wanna have conversations with members about things like town bunkers. Why are we redoing? Nobody wants that. So relative to your question, we're really gonna work hard to give some reference points. But the focus groups are really to define scope so we can go dial into the numbers and come back to the members with a defined scope and some costs before we make the decision. That makes sense? Yes, sir.
Are there any design changes?
Sorry, wait one second.
Yeah, we have to, all the people on that want to hear you on the video.
Design changes. This will be done by someone, this is his position. It will not be done by the members.
Correct. That would be our recommendation.
Absolutely,
It's your club.
but not members.
I-
I've gone through that here.
And I think everybody in the room and those that'll be watching tonight will agree with. There's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it. And I think we wanna do things right, we want, whatever we do is quality. And we understand the cost of maintaining. Mr. Stinner,
In the consultant's report, his name is Terry Buchan, is it?
yes, Buchan,
Buchan? He makes the recommendation that on page 2930, that the Eagle Greens be totally rebuilt in conformity with the USGA recommendations. And USGA recommendations, which are interesting in that they're four recommendations, not four, but they are to avoid placing poles too close to the collar. That would be like 12 to 15 feet. Avoid placing poles on slopes where the ball won't stop. 3 is have 3 feet of flat level ground around the hole. 4 is avoid setting the hole on or at the edge, steep slope. Now, 15 years ago, the Twin Eagles recommendations of standards for setting up the golf, exact mirror image, the USGA recommendations. Our standards are no closer than 7.5 feet from the collar and 2 foot radius and the area around the pin. So what's happened is, in recognition of the fact that our greens did not conform to USGA standards, we changed our standards, not the golfers. Now, is there any plan to redo the greens and bring them into conformity with the USGA recommendations? What
Mr. Buchan is referring to is the construction. So what he's talking about is the actual subgrade of the green, you have your gravel layer typically, which is in your greens mix above that, and then your. He's referring to the full structure all the way from the grass is planted all the way down to the actual subgrade that's below, which is compromising high thick and organic matter. That I showed you. There. So that's what he's referring to as far as recommendation to make a USGA spec. Green. You may want to take a look at USGA has a different section called the green section. That's where they can refer more detail about construction actual USGA spec green.
Well, the fact still remains, that our greens do not adhere to the design. They don't adhere to the USGA recommendations. You can't make pole placements that are in conformity with those recommendations.
It is a challenge of undulation that we have. There are, you cannot place a pin in front of 15. Maybe on a superintendent revenge day, it'd be fine. That's not.
But the second thing that, hear your comment on, is that, the way the course is set up, frequently on the course, the holes are set, two holes in particular, 17 on the eagle and 5 on the tail. Those holes are set up to be 20 yards, 30 yards off what the scorecard says the hole should play. And particularly with 17 on the eagle, changes the whole character of it messes with the handicap rankings of them. It's an unfair advantage to either a good player or in Terry's recommendations, he says that we should have T yardage to assist the people who set up the in knowing where the business is. And we have not done anything about that. So we received his recommendations.
Yeah, some golf courses have yard plates in there to identify. That team market should be in. It's certainly something we can discuss in the committee. Actual places, you do a better job, you recognize. But yeah, you never had T monuments that fall down there. That is a capital item, so we can discuss. Those aren't cheap. Any other questions?
In the back, Mr. Gasmus.
I'm sorry, Mr. King, hope we didn't talk about practice. Later, but I was wondering if there's any way we're going to. We lost one when we did our renovation, we had 2. Lost it. I was just wondering if you were considering, chipping, I know it might be next to the chipping area, putting area for the Eagle, which you might be.
Yeah, we're looking at several possibilities. So we're having discussions with the civil engineer on a variety of land issues and what if scenarios. We are looking at the practice facility, short-term and long-term. We're looking at the Himalayan, right? Should we keep the Himalayan long-term? Right, there's those in the room that love the Himalayan. Keep it the way it is. There's those in the room that are like, that'd be a great area for a chipping area or an event lawn. So we're trying to better understand what the members want. We're trying to prioritize needs. We've talked about moving the chipping area over by the pickleball courts, making that parking, moving that chipping area into the practice area. Like, everything is in play. Not locked into anything. We're having a lot of discussions, getting a lot of feedback. And I know my comments about the Himalayan are controversial, but I throw them out there just to get people thinking about it. Like, we're not locked into any particular way. It's wide open. We're gonna do what the majority of the members want. So we're looking at the palm tree area just south of the Himalayan. Right, as you drive through to go to the learning center. Is that a good place for a chipping area? What can we do with land over by Eagle? It's conservation area, how far in? So, yeah, these are good discussions that we'll be having in a variety of forums, in particular with the Greens and Grounds. But we're gonna hit a lot of these areas in the SBC meeting. Focus group. Yes, sir.
Okay, 2 questions for you.
All right, 1 second, please. Takes a while when the shoes.
2 questions for you. One statement, second, this gentleman said about having members redirected to stay up the golf course. It's great, takes a lot of wear and tear off the spot. 2 questions for you. We've got some hot spots on the town. And concerned, that the renovation was done properly and it's gonna be an ongoing problem down the road. You feel like this is temporary and you're addressing it properly.
On the town, and I think you've got things that are set really good, other than the bunkers, which we discussed before, and there are some Washington challenges to there.
When I say hotspots, burnt out areas on the fairways, not the bunkers, but just the fairway side, probably 4 or 5, so you've got some dead spots that I'm concerned about.
So you're referring to like, number 6?
Yeah.
And there's 15?
Yeah.
But those areas, if you watch my videos, show historically, like, there's something in there in that soil, so when we go through summertime, we open those up, we are gonna add certain nutrients in those holes that help hold some of this moisture, but they are hot spots. There's no roots there. We've had high nematode counts. Those are problem child areas that have been there historically, so we'll continue to build on those and build that population of beneficial microbes, and over time, we'll get better, but it's not gonna get better in 1 year. It's gonna take some time. That's why avoiding first on those areas, and less stress we can put on there, and the better. You've seen number 6 is it's healed up a good bit since we've kind of closed off that area.
And then my second question is about the Eagle. You mentioned the low end renovation of dressing and some of the other things, and then Gabe, I know you want to do a total rebuild. Is there a possibility that you could find something in the middle where we just dress the fairways? Because my view, and probably many people in this room, the fairways are the biggest issue on the Eagle. Most members are happy with the design. Just the fairways and track course.
Yeah, that's some of that contamination that we talked about. Too on the areas and what's below the surface.
So I guess if we decide to do some type of renovation, to $20 or $25 million, can we, spend $10 million just to get the fairways better and the greens better instead of just even blowing it up?
Yeah, I just want to be clear too. I don't care if you want to go full blown renovation as long as you redo the irrigation. That's my main concern. We've done, I've done like no tills before. You don't have, those are gonna do, crazy maneuvers with solar. So anything's on the table. That's what's discussed more on the green committee level and long range. What's decided? Yeah, it doesn't matter to me whether you told you, bring in Fazio here if you want, it doesn't make sense to me.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Shit.
This is probably a question for Rob, more so. On the new equipment that we are anticipating getting new equipment, this equipment. You already mentioned it was probably a couple months behind on delivery, a number of those pieces of equipment. Not sure what the order consists of as far as what type of equipment, but do you anticipate being able to get most of the equipment before summer maintenance?
No, we're hoping to receive the remaining pieces on the first PO. So Carl's order from March of 2023. Right, so that's how far backlog they are. So there's no chance of getting equipment on the second one. I don't think we've received anything. So now, okay, so there's a couple units on that order. Now, as we get into that, our summer projects, I know the owner of Westco Turf Forum very well. Gabe does too. And we have a commitment, loaner equipment as needed. We'll get it. So we just have to define what our needs are, what our term need is, and we'll call on those favors. So we're fortunate. We've been in the area for a long time and been at high performing clubs and have those relationships. So we'll use them.
So all the equipment on the orders are plural.
Not all. Not all. But the workhorse vehicles, the leased vehicles are both work. Right? So there's some capital purchases on equipment that's kind of novelty. We have Kubota tractors, we have spray rigs, we have, a lot of very specific equipment that we're purchasing the best quality product versus a brand name. The Toro's arguably the best.
Next question. I hear that we have enough fertilizer our year is through. Not exactly sure what our year is, but my question is, do we have enough fertilizer? Do we have enough chemicals or whatever we need to get through the summer maintenance program?
Oh, I want to answer this. So, not speaking for Gabe, but speaking for Gabe. Gabe's programs are far different than previous programs. So we're working through inventory on hand, which was more significant than we would have liked. But we're nearing the end of those inventories. Once we get through those inventories, we'll be fully 100% on Gabe's programs. So the good news is, we didn't have to spend as much in fertilizer dollars. We didn't have to spend as much in chemical application. We're working through the product. So there's savings in that area that are going to help us offset the days lost due to rain and poor weather earlier in the year. So it actually turned out to kind of be a blessing. So we have a couple $100,000 savings, a couple $100,000 shortfall in chem and fertilizer. But the good news is we're nearing the end of that inventory. We'll be 100% on Gabe's and team's programs going forward here shortly.
One last question, and just for my curiosity, there has been some workers working, I believe it was on 7 Eagle and basically hand working, digging out some weeds of some sort. Is that going to continue? What are you trying to accomplish?
On 7 Eagle, there are probably pieces and just routine maintenance, unless you saw with what you saw there in the natural area. Either pull invasive weeds, or that's just maintenance. Any other questions?
Back in, I think it was 2006 to 2010, we had a couple of drought years that, like one right after the other. It turned out that the water application that we got, South Florida Water Management, it's inadequate for water. So we had to just really irrigate the lawn and the other. Good. Have we had any success in increasing the allocation?
To my knowledge, no, but you're probably referring to the water restrictions that are tend to happen throughout the springtime. We're going to get into it. So phase 1, 2, and 3 they'll make you do a percentage reduction of irrigation out to those golf courses. So when you get to phase 3, that's extreme. Most golf courses, all they water is greens and tees. That's all they can afford to put. But no, I don't think there's been anything done to see if you can increase that. If you can do that, I'd be curious how you do that. That's South Florida Water Management's a challenging agency to get to request more.
Well, back when we had the drought, we tried to increase the allocation. Of course, South Florida Management said no way because we had a drought. But since then, we've had better rainfall. I'm just wondering if we had any success in increasing base allocation.
The amount of rainfall we had past year probably gonna help us for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, because a lot of those, when they look at going into those phases, they look at the lake level of Lake Okeechobee. One aspect they look at and what the aquifer is doing. The only alternative you could do is look into getting into wells or more reclaimed system. We have no control over the CS, the water that we pay for. So they help us out with that as far as and submit their information. So
Thank you.
Back a couple of weeks ago on the Eagle course, there was a lot of optimism. It was looking really, really nice. A lot of the fairways were and most recently, it seems that the fairways are a little bit shorter now. Can you discuss with the membership maybe the pros and cons of keeping it longer versus shorter, greener versus browner, et cetera, et cetera? Is there any plans? That's question number 1. And second, plans for maybe the next 4 or 5 weeks leading up to a big event that we have here in April to change any of the looks of the course?
certainly, to change the looks of the course, Bob told me to paint it green, so we are. We have scheduled out a wall-to-wall fertilizer application that's already budgeted out when the Eagle next week. Town will be the following on the 17th. And it's a slow release fertilizer section carries all the way through to the weeks. That's an invitation. So much challenge that we have with our in a sprint, right? We can just throw some nitrogen out there and get a quick pop. We're not having anything in there in the soil to hold and make it in between those quick pops. Right? Sprinter is not just sprinting when he's practicing, right? He's running a couple miles you know, maybe a couple marathons, but he's not just sprinting as far as exercise. That's what we're doing up here. We're spoon feeding bi-weekly on those fairways and tees and things to help us buy us time between those bigger granular applications that are going on schedule like we do. Sweet. Does that answer your question? Oh, the length of the grass.
Sorry, just to follow up, the length of the grass. And it was looking really, really nice a couple of weeks ago. And it's changed a little bit now. Any going forward, is that the concept of sprinting or?
It's that we have not changed the height cut, first of all. I know that people think we dropped the height cut. The height cut has stayed the same since around October when we raised it up. But once this early application goes out, you can see a nice response from that side. Yeah, you'll say something different.
So the other thing to know. We've had some challenges here, right, over the years. And to exacerbate the challenges, we had over 100 inches of rain. 100 inches of rain in calendar year 2024. We had over 70 inches of rain May 15th through October 15th, which the meteorologists define as rainy season. Then we go from El Nino to La Nina, dry, cool, overcast. And now we're into what I saw this past week, that February was one of the hottest Februaries on record. So the weather, these ups and downs, trying to dial in to the right fertilizer mix, the chemical applications, and you're dealing with inefficient equipment, spray rigs, bad calibration. It's a challenge. But every month it's gonna get better. We're gonna continue to dial it in. But this is a science project. There's no easy answers. And there's so many variables that go into it. And we still don't know what we own. We don't know what's in the soil. We don't know what's underground. We're learning, we're doing soil profile testing. We're constantly testing the irrigation water. We're sending turf samples out to University of Florida, Georgia, where we use it for turf sampling. So we're sending it to Florida. So we're constantly using the science to dial in the how we feed the turf and how we manage the pests. So we're getting there, but there's a lot of variables. There's no switch to turn on and off, because then Mother Nature kicks in, and you think you got it dialed in and you don't. But the aerial photos tell us a lot. The year over year. How far back did you go? So you go and look at the aerials on Google Maps since 2004. The bad spots are still the bad spots on old golf courses. So the renovations didn't do a lot. So whatever's in the ground is in the ground, and we have to understand what's in the ground and overcome it. But what we do today impacts us 12 months from now, 24 months from now, right? If you don't tune your car up as scheduled, that car is not running as long as if you have done the tune-ups and the maintenance. It's just a fact. So we're catching up. We're doing what we need to do for long-term health of both golf courses, and we're getting it. But this is not when I say we're gonna be terrified and aggressively going after all these areas this summer, we have to tear it up, make it better. And I already know I'm gonna hear all the complaints, well, this golf course is perfect, and that one's perfect, and this is tore up. We have to do the cultural practices to make it better. And we're, I don't wanna speak for prior to January 31st, 2024, but I speculate we didn't do all the aerifications the way they needed to be done with the right equipment. So we'll get there. Any other questions?
Yeah, is there any chance at some point that we get out one RCS? We can control what?
I made a contact with a member who was involved, and there's a couple that were involved in reviewing this from a legal perspective at a time that there just wasn't the resources or the time to pursue it, but it's on my radar. I want to talk to those individuals. I want to understand the agreement. It can be done, I believe. Mediterra did it. But it's time and effort and resources. But it's on my radar because it's a significant expense. If we could unravel that, and we have the right capital to do what's necessary to fill their role and responsibilities, that's in the back of my head. So it's on my radar. Yeah, and anybody who knows anything about that RCS agreement, please send me an email because I got a folder started so I can talk to everybody involved. All right. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Yeah, how are you?